Many of us have received one. The call, offering a limited time, guaranteed opportunity to double or triple our money overnight. It sounds too good to be true, and unfortunately, it often is. Welcome to Time to Call Out Fraud, a podcast series from the Manitoba Securities Commission and Money Smart Manitoba. In this series, we'll be exploring the increasing risks posed by investment fraud, one of the most prevalent kinds of fraud in Canada. And we'll talk about some of the ways Canadians can protect themselves. I'm Ainsley Cunningham, Manager of Education and Communications with the Manitoba Securities Commission. In this series, we'll explore different dimensions of investment fraud, from the factors that make people vulnerable to the mechanics of specific scams involving binary options or cryptocurrency. But for this series, as it does for many frauds, it starts with a call.
We operate in London, UK, and we work with mainly Europe, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. This is a Canadian promotion, which means that if you start as a new client with us and with our account managers, you will be eligible into the promotion, which makes you...
Our Calling Out Fraud project came about when one of our senior investigators had actual tapes of people pitching scams, and we thought that was a golden opportunity to really bring it home for people and give some really live examples of the kind of techniques and methods that they use to commit investment frauds on the public. My name is David Chop. I am Chair of the Manitoba Securities Commission and the Chief Administrative Officer of the Manitoba Financial Services Agency.
Those tapes David is talking about are the audio you're hearing now, the sound of a fraud unfolding.
But before you make any decision, any final decision, I would like you to run through it with me also, because even though you don't know me, I am the person that works in this field and know pretty much, most of the things I need to know.
I think it is really useful because it underlines sort of the how ordinary this seems in some ways, that you can listen to hear the techniques that they use, and you can see how people can be taken in by it.
Around this, and then we can make the final decision once we talk about it.
Okay. I've been with the Commission for 23 years. I currently manage the investigation department as the senior investigator, and I handle all of the fraud-related calls. So I get calls daily from victims explaining to me that they've been victimized. And I'm also getting calls at home, on my cell phone. I'm getting emails. So I end up talking to these boiler rooms and get a sense of exactly what causes victims to invest. And what I can say is that these are very, very sophisticated pitches.
This is Jason Roy, the Manitoba Securities Commission senior investigator whose voice you're hearing on the tapes. And the term boiler room that he used there, that refers to an overseas call center where a team of scammers work together to pitch phony investments. Pitches like the one Jason received.
The pitch begins with a telephone call, and you're generally told that you've entered some information on a website, or they found you somehow that seems legitimate. You will then be asked questions about your knowledge relating to investing and cryptocurrencies and Forex and those types of different investments. They ask you a question like, is this something you would like to use for your retirement, or would you like to use it for your daily income and possibly not have to work anymore? So, individuals that are hearing that pitch are get excited about the fact that maybe they can retire early and not have to work. So it really goes on from there, and it's just such a sophisticated pitch that it is converting a lot of people that might have been skeptical and might have rolled their eyes initially when they got the call to seriously thinking about investing. My neighbor knows what the rules are, and he says you guys are operating illegally. So I'm just going to confirm it. I'll call the Securities Commission directly.
Okay, sir. Your neighbor, I understand your neighbor is a professional in the market, in the trading market.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a professional in the trading market as well.
Okay.
And just
So when I'm listening to those pitches, and I've heard hundreds of them myself, as I get calls myself, or I will intentionally get involved in discussions with these boiler rooms by signing up on a website in order to hear the pitch that victims are getting. And what is happening is I'm essentially trying to learn as much as I can about the scheme and trying to get them to give some detail that will give me an idea of maybe where they're located and what they're up to. So I'm learning about how their payment system works, how they're trying to get the money from me to them, what third party they're using. I'm trying to essentially hear what the victim hears and figure out why the victims are, getting converted to actually turning over their money. And what I can tell you is that it's a very sophisticated pitch, and there's lots of pressure. Yeah, I mean, maybe just I'd like.
And because whenever everything is legal, everything is just put on the website, so you can read it freely on your own.
Yeah. I even feel the pressure, and I know that I'm never going to turn over my credit card, or I'm never going to purchase, cryptocurrency and transfer it to a wallet to them. But there's pressure involved in those phone calls, and they spend a lot of time on the phone with you, and they're trying to develop a rapport with you, and I think it's human nature that the average person doesn't want to disappoint another person, and when someone spent that much time on the phone and it seems that nice. I can easily see how people just say, okay, well, you know what, I'll just invest $250.
By the way, how old are you, sir?
I'm 47.
I forgot to ask your age.
47.
Oh my God, I thought you were 27 or something. I thought you are my age, actually.
Oh yeah. And really, that's all they're trying to do is get that first initial investment from you in order to get you started. They'll then show you some fake profits, and it goes on from there. And we're getting victims that have maybe realized it's a scam after they've invested the first $250. But we have others that that have lost upwards of $600,000. Believe it or not, this morning. I was checking my email, and we have a new victim that looks like has lost upwards of $475,000. So this is an every week, almost daily thing. Huge amounts of money are leaving the province, leaving the country, leaving the economy, never to return.
The amount of money lost to investment frauds and scams is huge. From January to September 2021, Canadians lost millions to investment fraud, and that's only the fraud that's reported, which the vast majority of frauds aren't. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre estimates only 5% of frauds are reported. But as common as investment fraud is, it's very hard for people to talk about.
Have we come across situations where people were ashamed to come forward? Absolutely. I can recall situations where we actually knew who had been defrauded. We were able to get the names of people who had contributed money to a fraudulent scheme, and I recall us approaching them, and they flat out denied some of them, and then. In a number of cases, they thought more about it and then came to us later and said, well, no, actually, we did get involved. We also see situations where they're protecting the person, that they don't believe they've been defrauded. They don't want to get someone in trouble. They think it's legitimate. They think that it'll be a problem for this person that they've placed their trust in. Also, sometimes they will, it's not so much embarrassment, but they will not cooperate because they think it'll hurt them getting their money back. I can recall one situation where it was really terrible. The person was so convinced that, next day, next week, the money was coming back because the person that was leading them on and just again had baited the hook and was reeling them in and again and he was absolutely convinced, and he was telling us, I'm expecting a text message any minute or a call about this, and it was a slow dawning that on this person that what we were saying was true. He's not getting his money back.
Yet there's good reasons to talk about investment scams. Fraud thrives in the darkness. But with this series, we're calling out the scammers perpetrating these frauds and calling on Canadians to speak out about their experience with fraud to help themselves and others.
That is one of the interesting things of frauds, is that many people feel embarrassed when they find out that they've been taken advantage of. I think it's a natural reaction, sort of people thinking, how could I be so stupid, when it dawns on them that really what has happened is a situation where they're not going to get what they invested, they're not getting it back. That has a number of consequences. One, it means that they don't report it. They may not tell their family, their spouse. They certainly will not often come to us because they feel that they've been foolish, not really realizing that there are many sophisticated people before them have fallen into similar situations. So it's easy to say abstractly there's nothing to be embarrassed about, but it is a very natural reaction.
People always feel better, I think, once they've talked to us. We've explained to them, what's going on and that they're a victim, and we offer, I believe, some support to them to try to help them get their mind wrapped around what actually happened to them, and it really. I think they do feel a bit better, maybe not initially, but at least they can move on or move forward knowing that the truth as to what's happened to them. It's a tough thing to accept that, but I think that's really that's the toughest day, is when you realize that you've been victimized, and then you move forward from there. However, that's not the only thing. Talking about it not only is going to, I think, make your recovery of it go a lot smoother. It also helps other individuals, because the more that we can learn about these things, the more we can prevent future victims. So I always try to recruit victims when I'm speaking with them, advise them that they're not, this isn't the last time they're going to get pitched, and let's work together and fight back.
That's it for this episode of Time to Call Out Fraud. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review and share to help spread the message and shed some light on these fraudsters. Next time on the podcast, we'll hear about some of the most common kinds of frauds.
During this pandemic, just by looking at the stats alone, like the amount of individuals falling victim to mass market scams like romance scams, investment scams, it's definitely increasing, and the dollar amount is becoming higher.
That's next time on Time to Call Out Fraud.